So this video is going to go over parallel lines and perpendicular lines as far as their slope goes. You can see up at the top, if you have two lines that are parallel, they are going to have the same slope. They never touch, they exist in the same plane, they have the same rise and the same run, so whatever the slope of one line is, a line that's parallel to it is going to have the exact same slope. Now with perpendicular lines, those slopes are going to be negative reciprocals. So there are a few things that you have to do for the perpendicular slope. You have to flip your fraction of whatever your slope number is, and you also have to change the sign. So if you had one line that had a negative slope, its perpendicular slope would be positive because it's going to be the opposite sign. So I'm going to run through a couple of examples with this to go through parallel and perpendicular and how to find the slope and how to then change the slope if you need to for perpendicular. Our first example deals with parallel. It says find the slope of a line parallel to the given line. So you always want to check and see if your equation is already set up in your y equals mx plus b form. This first one, our first equation here is already in y equals mx plus b, or slope-intercept form. So because it's in that form, you want to look and see what number is in that m position that's multiplied by x. So if we look at A, 9 is in the position of n. 9 is being multiplied by the x. That means that the slope of this given line is 9. Then we need to think about what a parallel slope would be. Well, when slopes are parallel, they are the same. So if the slope of the given line is 9, the parallel slope is also 9. And that would be your solution for that problem. Now I'm going to scroll here to give a little bit of space, just because with my image being in the lower corner, I don't want to cut off any of this math whenever we're going through and doing this. So with part B, we have 3x minus 2y equals 10. This one is not currently in slope-intercept form, so I need to put it into slope-intercept form. And this is going to be using the technique that we learned in one of the other videos that I posted about isolating the y term to find the slope. So the first thing you want to do is subtract the 3x from both sides. Again, our goal is to get the y by itself. So you're going to carry down the minus 2y. That's going to be equal to negative 3x plus 10. To finish this out, to get the y by itself, we're going to divide everything by negative 2. And that leaves us with y equals 3 halves x minus 5. So again, just like with letter A, which was already set up, we want to see what number is in that m position. And if you look at your problem, in the m position, we have this fraction that's 3 halves. So the slope of our line is 3 halves. For a parallel slope, we don't change it, so that will also be 3 halves. And that would be your solution there. So parallel slopes, again, don't change. Next, we have perpendicular slopes. For perpendicular slopes, remember they are negative reciprocals. So that means once you identify your slope of the line, you're going to flip the fraction or make it a fraction if it wasn't one, and then you're going to change the sign. So letter A is already set up in our slope-intercept, our y equals mx plus b form, and 2/3 is in the m position. So the slope of our line is 2/3. The perpendicular slope, again, this one does change. Parallel slopes did not change. They are the same, but perpendicular slopes will change. So for perpendicular, I'm going to take my fraction that I have here. I'm going to flip it and change the sign. This was currently positive, so my solution for my perpendicular slope will be negative. So the line that is perpendicular to y equals 2/3 x would have a slope of negative 3 halves. For part B, this one is not in slope-intercept, y equals mx plus b form, so I have to solve for it. So I'm going to start off by subtracting the x. I have 3y equals negative x minus 12. And then we would divide everything by the 3. So I have y equals negative 1/3 x minus 4. Be careful with this negative 1, this negative x here on top. When you divide it by 3, it is going to become a fraction. It does not become a whole number or an integer. And I know I've seen a lot of students get confused with that. So remember, if you have a 1 or a negative 1 on top and you're dividing it by a number, that does become a fraction. So the 3 is still at the bottom of that fraction. And again, I'm just going to scroll a little bit so that you can see the work that we have here. So this is my line. In that M position here, we have negative 1/3. So that means that the slope of the given line is equal to negative 1/3. Now again, this problem was asking us to find the perpendicular slope. So our perpendicular slope, I'm going to take my negative 1/3, I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to change the sign. Since this was a negative, it's going to become a positive. You could write positive 3/1, but since 1 is in the denominator, you can drop it and just make it a positive 3. So the perpendicular slope, a line that is perpendicular to x plus 3y equals negative 12, that line would have a slope of 3. I hope this was helpful in understanding the difference between parallel and perpendicular slopes. You can go back over any of the other videos if you're still confused about how to solve for y, how to identify the m from an equation, or any of the other line topics that we've covered so far.